Welcome back to Project Ozone 3 Kappa mode. Bit of a clean out of our AE2 system. You can see everything is now green. These were like amber or red, and they're going through just a filtering process right now. You can do that using the IO port, but it's expensive, so I created the sort of cheap version, which is to say I just put an ender chest down here with an export bus, and this is currently doing cocoa beans. I don't think that should show any cocoa now, maybe. Cocoa, nope, that's done. You can see I've got some other stuff here. So by the most sort of populous amount, so this is 12,000 tin ingot, I basically just set tin ingot here, and the system will basically start exporting all the tin ingot into this. Now, where's this going? This is going to our storage drawer controller system, which is currently disconnected from AE2. So the normal cable's right there. And that's just so that I can see everything that's only in AE2 and not in the storage drawer controller, and anything I know should be in the storage drawer controller, I can just put in that filter, and it'll start pulling away from this inventory here. You can see there's lots of stuff at the top here that probably should be in our storage drawer controller. So that gets things up and running to get us to the next step, which is basically keeping us all nice and clean in these drives, save me having to basically craft more capacitors. So if you want to do that, feel free to do that with your own world. Anyway, moving on. What are we going to do today? We're going to do a little bit of blood altar stuff, but not very much, or not very much on camera, and some astral sorcery stuff. What are we going to do with those? First of all, let's take a look at, one of the comments we got, or a couple of the comments I think we got in the last episode of the one before, basically saying you don't need the tier 6 blood altar. Sorry, but you do for the end game, because you need it to get the last blood orb, which is needed for the end game. So there's no way to avoid a tier 6 blood altar. You can see right here, there's like this faint outline. That's because I've used the Inspectoris, whatever it's called, Inspectoris Scandalum. You sort of shift right click it, and you can get it, and then right click on the blood altar, and you can get like a hologram, if you like, of basically what's missing. And you can see at the top of these 4 pillars, the stone bricks don't actually matter. They can be any solid block, but the top is the purple blocks, and they do matter. And then you can't really see them, but there is a line of there should be a line of runes in between these pillars, but of course, because I've got solid blocks in the way, you can't really tell. However, those blocks are important. However, I did also go through and replace the capacity runes with the runes of augmented capacity, which took our blood altar capacity from 114,000 millibuckets, was it last episode? Something like that, to 1.4 million. So that's the power of a lot of multiplicative runes. So this can pretty much craft anything you like, including, or at least it would be able to craft, was the crystal. There it is. This crystal cluster is used to make the last blood orb. If I look at the recipe, it is there, but it needs a tier 6 altar. If you try and put it in here, nothing happens. No crafting whatsoever. So we're going to need 4 more of these crystal clusters, which are expensive because they happen to be the same item that you use to craft ME controllers. Not there. Where are you? Oh, let me just get to my inventory. Hang on. I put my yes, I put this on charge. Yes, so it helps to be able to put it back in your inventory to be able to access it. Okay, where's that thing block gone again? So yeah, crystal clusters. We want to just see the uses for that, and yep, you can see it's part of the ME controller recipe. Much of the rest of this we can actually craft. It's just that these are expensive because they are iridescent altars. Now, if you are going to want to get to more star metal, and you can get it, craft it, basically go and mine it. However, if you have some iron ore, I'm not sure if I have any in the system. Iron ore. No, I don't. If you have some iron ore, you can go to an astral temple anywhere in the world, like in the Lost Cities, and get yourself a linking tool, this thing. So you shift right click on the crystal that's in there, and then put down some iron ore, and then right click on the iron ore. That will convert it over into basically star metal ore, which you can then get more star metal, this stuff. So I went and did that. You should also be aware that if when you do that, you want to knock out the ceiling of the temple so that the crystal can see the sky. And it needs to be nighttime really to get a decent amount of power. And you can link multiple blocks to it. It stores the block location with the linking tool. So you can just knock the block out, like the star metal ore, and then replace it with iron ore, and it'll convert the next one, etc. So you can put a large array of them in there and leave it alone at night. So that's how you get more star metal ore, and I really should put another floor of elevators up there, or probably a teleporter maybe, but I've got this one for the time being. And you can see up here I've got some of the ingredients needed for more of those crystal clusters. In fact, 4 more. I just need to get a few more, what is it going to be? It's going to be Lordcraft stuff and some celestial crystals. So I need to grow a few more of those, like 4 of them. But that's something I can do off camera. You've seen it before, so no big deal there. And we're just nicely cleaning up our AE2 system. So let's get started with today's episode and moving on. And here's my particular temple in the Lost Cities, just to show you this whole process. There we go. You can see I've got some iron ore being converted right over here. As soon as it's nighttime, this will help. And I've got this linked to a 3x3 block, so I'll put these here. Those will get converted as well. Nothing will happen unless you link them, but other than that, they do convert across into star metal, which is exactly what we need to basically get a few bits and pieces being done, including those crystal cluster blocks. With all of that crafting done, it's straightforward then just to drop our last, where is it? Where's my crystal cluster gone? I know I've got one somewhere. There we go. Last one into our blood altar. You can see we've got all the tier 6 stuff done now. I've just used blank runes, but they will be best with perhaps speed, maybe? I don't think there's anything else I would really want. I suppose you could put more augmented capacity, but speed's probably the best thing from here on forwards. Anyway, let's just get that done by dropping that in there. And you can see how quickly that's going down, and that's fine because it's going to take 200,000, but we have 1.4 million in there, so that should be done anytime now-ish. Now? Yeah, there we go. There is our transcendent blood orb. Okay, so cool. That is the highest tier 1. I suppose what we could do over here, I'm not sure that we'd feed it actually. We are, is that my divination sigil? Yeah, we're at complete cap. We're at 10 million life points. So even if I were to swap them out, this one isn't yet a tier 6, so it won't be able to feed it. Maybe. So I'm perfectly happy with the 10 million. Yeah, there it is. The 10 million on that side is fine with me. So good there. And I don't no longer need the Archmage Blood Orb, and we're done. So that's all of the altars. You can put tier 6 in if you want to, I suppose, particularly if you want more life points in your network. But our existing life point generators underneath each of the altars are going to do perfectly fine as far as that's concerned. Okay, so I wanted to quickly check onto the rituals. We're going to need to craft some more master ritual stones with our blood altar, which is pretty simple now. And I'll get back to you once we're done, and then we'll set something up over here. And now onto rituals. We've got plenty of life points in our network to be able to deal with it. So I've got the ritual here, which is Crack of the Fractured something or other. Hang on, where it is. Crack of the Fractured Crystal. Okay, what this does is basically break demon will crystals that we're going to be placing automatically. So if you right-click that in place, once you actually see the thing, there it is. It's going to start placing all the blocks in a sort of multi-block structure. And I've got a couple of stacks of the ritual stones, so that's there. I've got, I think it's like 6 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, technically 6, but 5 from this lower surface here. And then obviously we've got this other ritual stone down here, and I need to go and find out which ritual it is. Gathering the Forsaken Souls. It's the next one on the list. So here you can see I have that structure right there. So what I may actually want to do is sink that to the floor by 1, maybe? If it's 6 between those, maybe it does need to be moved 1 down. I'm not sure if it actually replaces solid blocks anyway. Do you replace solid blocks? It'd be nice if you did. Nope. I clearly need to remove those solid blocks out of the way. Let me sort that one out. Okay, with the floor removed, will you now place? You will. Everything should go ahead. And we can obviously just put the stone layer back later. I do have a light layer as well, but that's not a problem. And there you can see that structure as well. So you can see there's plenty of room in between the two. In between the two is where we're going to be actually growing our crystals. So you're going to probably want to put a wall up around them. And then you're also going to need a mob farm probably below this area. This thing is going to start damaging mobs just like our other ones down there, except we probably want a variety of mobs, if I remember rightly, for this, rather than just a single type like witches. So something more like a cursed earth spawner is probably good. Okay, I've got my awakened activation crystal. I'm not sure if that's going to be needed specifically, but can we actually do that? Will it let us activate either one of these? Okay, so that one activated. The top one, the crack ritual. This bottom one did not. Oh no, yes it did as well. Okay, so that's fine. Gathering Forsaken Souls. So they're both activated. And if I have a look at my sigil, yep, you can see that did drop. Basically, because some of the stuff got pulled over our network. Okay, so from here I've got this nice little room. See, it's just basically surrounded on all sides. I'm probably going to need to put some lights up here on the top just to basically make sure nothing spawns up here, but otherwise that's all nice and accessible in case we need to change it in the future. Good. So from here, then we need to basically start growing crystals, which means this bottom thing needs to have access to mobs to kill. So we need to put another sort of chamber below here, which I've just started creating the outline for, and you know, think about your typical sort of cursed earth spawn. However, on here, you're going to need lights that control to be able to turn it off, because I don't want it to just keep on going forever. I would like to be able to at least control this just a little bit. So down here below our rituals, we've got this space. I've now got some redstone lamps in here with redstone conduit. Upstairs, we just pop upstairs with this. I've got this. There's a shut-off switch. Basically, the whole thing is shut off right now. As soon as this flips to the way, the lamps will turn back off again. And I have basically an ender chest here, which is linked to one that's underneath this floor, which will pick up any drops that we've got. So let's just put in, well, a one door, I guess. And let's use our drop of evil just to enable the whole thing, which is now enabled. Good. And I shouldn't need that door anymore for them to spy on me. And let's pop upstairs. Do I need to do anything else? No, I don't think so. And let's see what, well, first of all, if this actually works at killing the things and by shutting things off. And that should start them spawning, should hear them spawning fairly soon, I would have thought. And let's see if we start getting any drops in this ender chest right here. Okay, that didn't work. So I have to do something else entirely. And let me just grab some more lamps if we have any, because I want to just light up the top of this building. I'll show you where I am. In fact, no, there isn't any more lamps. So let's just make some more. You'll do. So white stained glass and another stack of lamps, please. Yep, there we go. 64 lamps. Okay, so let's just put some more down over here just to make sure everything at the top of here is lit up. Right, so we're over in the Lost Cities because the simple void world is not letting me spawn mobs by Cursed Earth. So over here, we definitely know that mobs spawn. There's one right there. So let's create a new Cursed Earth spawn. So over here, I've got some redstone conduit. They're feeding into redstone lamps. And then what I'm going to do is use this redstone receiver that I made from RF Tools. It's very, very handy once you actually get it rotated correctly. Technically, I suppose I could get the I think it's the screwdriver that rotates it. Oh, don't want analog mode. Is it screwdriver? Screwdriver. Useful having one. I guess not. Project Red. I'll try. Let's see if that's. Yep, there we go. Okay, so that thing is basically transmitting a signal saying on. Okay. And analog mode faults. Now to attach those two things together, you need a redstone transmitter, and you right click one with the other. These are already paired. You'll see they're on channel 1. So if I go and put this down anywhere and then put a lever next to it, okay, so we can then basically transmit. That should be 1 now. And then if I turn it back off again, hopefully it will then transmit yes. So you need to basically have them set up and with the lever next to it so that you can then turn things on and off. So right now everything's off. And in this chamber below, we've got some more vector plates. Now, did have some commenters the first time I did this, not understanding what's going on here. These vector plates are on top of regular dirt, nothing else. On this last row, there's stone, but underneath all of this is dirt. So we're going to convert this dirt by going in underneath and using a drop of evil to turn it into cursed earth, which will then start spawning mobs as long as these lights are off. So I've got remote control over turning this on and off. More importantly, I've got a portal over here. Now, this portal is oversized by far. I can make that much smaller and then just filter them by moving the vector plates, pushing them inwards and then over. But I just made it the same size of the chamber because, hey, I could. And I think it's quite a nice idea. Now, if you go into that portal, it's quite safe at the moment. It's certainly safe for players as long as there isn't anything spawning. Let me just take this out for a second. If I just pop over here now, you'll see there is just a brick surface underneath. There's nothing excessive there to be worried about too much. Maybe I'll put some more lights in there to make sure that's lit up. However, pop back in, and not that dislocator. That's my personal one. You see, there we go again. So if you go through that, you go into the Void World chamber underneath that ritual. So anything that spawns in here gets filtered that way. Now, I can then reuse this for whatever I like. I can then shut down my main mob farm, you remember the one in my base, and have this switchable, so I could just change that dislocator over there with a different kill chamber that just feeds into my sort of MEE2 system or something like that. It's configurable, and you can create this to do whatever you like, I suppose, for your own games. However, to get things started, we just want to, first of all, basically make sure it is deactivated. So let's turn this on. Okay. See, the lights are on. Pop down underneath, and you'll see that I have, this is 7x7 internal, so I need to go 4 in, and then hit it with a drop of evil. And that's Cursed Earth now, all the way underneath the vector plates. Okay. And if you can see, there it is, you can see the particle effect. If I just step in for a second, yeah, into this dark ineffable glass, which is kind of a handy thing to do. It doesn't let any light in, and just makes it easy for me to walk through without having to have doors or anything. So that's all lit up and ready to go. So let's just turn it off and make sure everything does spawn in here. Hopefully it will. It does sound like it did, because something spawned, and you can hear the noise of the portal in the background. So stuff is being sent across there. However, what I actually want to do is just take these with me. It's okay for them to be deactivated right now. I'm really hoping this redstone signal works across dimensions. Otherwise, this may be a little bit, well, futile. But as we know, resistance is futile. Anyway, let's go across to our void world. And here we are. So we now should be able to set this up to shut things down over on this side if we don't want stuff to work anymore. So pop you down there. We can put this and rotate it with a screwdriver, I would have thought. So rotate that upwards. And there we go. We can turn that on and off. So whoops, that teleported out of the chamber. Wasn't expecting you. Hey, but you are taking damage, so that's good. So we may have to get like one of the ender anchors. Yes, ender anchor. Stable ender pearl. Oh, that's actually easy to make. Let's just make one. Stable ender pearl and ender anchor. Hopefully that does what I expect it to do, which is stop enderman from moving. Let's pop you under here. Okay. Don't know what range it has. Hopefully it does work. It seems like it's named the right thing, so we'll see. And then over here, what do we have? Do we have anything popping in here that I want yet? Not yet. I'm just going to start it back up again, I think. And hopefully that will work. We should start hearing them popping in. Or I need to turn it off and chunk load things and stuff like that. So here's the chamber below with more dark ineffable glass. And I just need to make sure that everything works, and we'll see how we go and see what the drops are again. Okay, now for the complicated bit. Not that complicated. It's just not obvious if you're new to this mod whatsoever. So, tartaric gems, we're used to these things. They have 0 will in them, and we need to upgrade them beyond the common. Right, so our ritual is going, and you can see here things dying. Yep. And on top, you can see a couple of new blocks. First of all, make sure that everything is in one chunk, okay? Most important. All right. Now, everything in this area now is all sort of being distributed via the air, or essentially by the chunk itself. So you need 2 blocks. One is the Demon Crucible. The other one is the Demon Crystallizer. Okay. So if I break this crystal for a second, oh, in fact, leave it. No, I'll break it. Okay. So this is what you'll get to start with. Okay. You'll get Crystallizer. Nothing will be happening. Nothing will happen on that Demon Crucible either. Okay. And all my normal drops are being filtered this way. Well, I've got the filter, blacklist filter, to stop anything important going that way, because it's just a trash can. So now we have demon will clusters. I'm going to need 1 of them for the crafting to move to the next level. However, I'm going to need to refill my tartaric gem. Now, how do we actually do that? Instead of using the Sentient Sword, we'll still need to use it, but instead of using it, you can always refuel it by putting this in here, and it'll absorb any will from that chunk. Okay, and right now there isn't any. However, will from that chunk can also be used to crystallize a crystal, to be clear. But you need 100 of it in the chunk, which you can't see right now, to be able to crystallize a new crystal onto here. And then once a new crystal is created, you need even more will in the chunk, and then it will then grow extra little offshoots that you saw on the outside of that crystal. Okay. So eventually, you'll just be able to break it, and you'll get 7 back. Now, this is not a net win just yet, because every time you get those back out, well, you need to feed stuff back into your tartaric gem. And right now, I've only got 6, but even if I had 7, each of these is only worth 50. Now, to get stuff into the junk, I can just put them in here. For example, if I just put 1 in, let's just put you in there. It just disappears immediately, you can see. But over here, you'll see it's gained 50. It does gain that way. So you can feed them straight back into your tartaric gem. Now, to create the crystal over there, I find the easiest is just to basically put the tartaric gem into this, and it'll feed it up to 100. Why? Well, these crystals will be used by the crucible to feed it into the chunk, but if they're slightly off in the amount of will, let's say for example, let's say if they gave 50 and there was only 40 left available in the chunk to fill up, they wouldn't be used. So if you've put these demon will clusters into this demon crucible and they don't get consumed and the crystals don't appear, you know that basically you're not full on the gauge. Now you can create a gauge or a gauge. Yep. It needs us to craft some stuff. It's not terribly hard to make, so you can actually do that. I may well show that in a little while. But to get started otherwise, what we're going to need to do then, you need get started, get the crucible, get the crystallizer, put your tartaric gem into the crucible to fill up that chunk. Your first crystal should appear, leave it in there, and then it should grow all of the relevant secondary crystals. Then you can break it. Okay, then you should get 7 of these. One of them is going to be used to upgrade our tartaric gem, but we need enough, basically enough will to do it. So in this case, what I'm just going to do is feed them back in. So off you go. And instead of going to a new crystal, they're going to go over there. They're going to go into our gem in there. So that's my last one. And you can see that that is feeding and it's up to 300. So that should be fine. So from there, we can then decide we're probably going to want to feed this a little bit more in order to get to the next gem level. So we're going to want our Sentient Sword. I've put a mending enchantment on it so it just repairs itself. And that's good as far as that's concerned. And I'm going to fill up a little bit more of this manually. Now, why do that? If I remember correctly, and it's been a while, you can get to a point that if you have enough will in your inventory in tartaric gems, you can just right-click on the crystal. And instead of breaking it and then losing that initial crystal that gets created by 100 will, you can just keep on right-clicking and getting more and more of these crystals. So we want to get to that stage. So I'm going to test it by getting some more will together, and let's see if we can get it going. With a little bit of farming, we now should have enough to be able to make the greater tartaric gem, and then we can transfer all this 924 into our greater tartaric gem, I think. Yep, it is transferring. It's just that the greater tartaric can hold a whole bunch more than before. So now we can go through and do the same thing again to upgrade the other one once we have 1,000 in this one to basically have 2 of the greater tartaric gems, which will hold enough for us to get the secondary crystals, presumably without doing anything else. So I've now reached 1,200 will in the greater tartaric gem. So if I go in here, you'll see this crystal has grown. If I shift right click, I should now just be able to pop off the secondary crystals and not the first one. So obviously that will stay where it is. Nothing happens if you right click that, or shift right click that. But that means we then get some more will crystals. So if we feed that back in, you'll see they are going to grow again. And that may take a little bit of time in that I have the machine turned off at the moment. Are you going to feed? Yep, it's now full-ish. And you'll see more start to grow in here. If I just carry on turning the ritual back on again, these should grow. And now we should be up to the point where I get a net gain. So I'm going to continue right-clicking. That's going to get picked up and put into this chest, which we can then feed back in. You'll see I've got 11, 13 of them now. So if I just go into my system and let's say I get a drawer, just as a sort of filter for this whole approach. And if let's say I put the drawer in, where do we actually want it? I probably want it there actually, just to keep everything nice. And if I get another filter, I don't even need a filter. If I just put a drawer in there and we just get our key. So apologies about the noise. That is just slightly unavoidable with this thing. I do need to get the sound item that filters everything out there, but this will do for now. And impulse. Impulse. Okay. And this should now filter everything into that top block. Yeah, we've got 13 there. And then all we need to then do is, again, probably our... what are they called? The item translocators. There we go. So if we just pop you on there, and hopefully you are compatible. Do you like it when mob blocks are compatible? And that is going to start feeding in to our internal stuff. Now, that ritual up there should be breaking, or maybe breaking these off. If they don't, maybe it's not going to work on the crystallizers. Maybe we need to do the next thing up, which is make the crystal chunks. So if for now I just pop these back off again, they'll get picked up in the system and should go back around and should continually feed this thing, so it should generate more and more. You see I've got 15 there now, not 13, and it's full already because this is being used. So the mobs downstairs will basically make sure this is then used. Now, the only issue I've got a little bit now is that I can use this once I have enough of it to basically fill one of my greater tartaric gems. I'm going to want to do that because the next thing I'm going to need to create, if we just use some of these demon will crystals, is... let me just back away, actually. That's just far too noisy. There we go. That's much nicer. If we use this, then we want this, the demon wool crystal cluster, which you can put on walls in that chamber, and that should start generating those secondary ones. But we need a 1200 and it drains 100. And that shouldn't be too bad, though, because let me just start this back up. If I put this back in here, it should fill up at 1300. There we go. And then I can go and then craft the rest of it without having to worry about this. So I've got another Hellfire Forge back at the normal base. There it is. And that just needs... oh, it needs 4 of these things. You know, sometimes I forget mid-sentence what I'm actually wanting to do. There we go. Back we go. And I need to get another one there just before everything gets used up. Yep, got 4 in my inventory. Good. And everything should be fine. So now we can feed all 4 in. 1 into each one of these. And on this side, that should feed. Yep. And that should make our demon wool crystal cluster. Okay. So then let's go and see if we can place that back in the room with everything else. And see if everything starts to get broken by that ritual upstairs rather than me having to manually do anything now. So let's just pop in this crystal cluster right there, let's say. Okay. It's a bit terrible, I'll admit. But we do actually need to watch it to grow, and that ritual should take care of it. Oh, there it goes. So we've got more crystal clusters going, and if it's in range, hopefully the whole thing should be self-sustaining. In the meantime, however, I'm not sure if the crystallizer one does get automatically maintained, or if that's in range, etc. We'll soon find out, and I'll keep an eye on it. So I'll bring you back in a moment or two. So yeah, I had the second ritual in slightly the wrong place. I've moved it down and it fits inside the other one pretty well as designed. So if you pop in here, you'll see I have everything now placed inside the floor. So this ritual stone right here is on top of the other one directly. And this ritual stone is the one for the crack of the fractured crystal. The other one below it is for the equivalent of Well of Suffering for this. And you'll see these crystal clusters are now being harvested and they're automatically being pulled back into the same system. So you can literally just go from here and basically watch. Yep, it's building up. And then just go back to your other base. You don't need to shift right click anymore. You shouldn't need the crystallizers, at least not for that purpose anymore. You see you've got 1200 here. If we just basically put a couple in each of these, we should get a couple more. And this whole thing should start to accelerate the more and more of these you have, of course. So there's 1, And it's actually, we need to fill it up a little bit more to get a second one. But you get the idea. We can now scale everything up, and I'll bring you back once I've done so. Okay, still in the same chunk, in the old space where the old ritual was. I'm going to put down a new one up here. Hopefully I've got the pattern right. We'll see in a second if I have. Resonance of the Fasted Crystal. You'll see all the bits and pieces being placed, or should be in a second. So keep clicking. Assuming I've got enough ritual stones, that may be it. Let's just see if this activates. I want my Awaken Activation Crystal, and yep, Rush of Energy flows through. So now I'm going to get my, not the Hellfire Forge, the Crystallizer. I think I should be able to put it there and then put a crystal cluster on top. And if that's the case, this should then sort of grow out into the other 4 types. I can't remember the names of them, but this is for the new and old version. You used to have to just basically randomly wait and one of the types would come in. The other thing I was going to say down here is that this bottom row is never harvested. So this area where the ritual stones are don't build on the same level. So I'm just going to break those. Okay, and they're going to get dragged into the system. I don't care because I've got lots and lots of these. Basically, how much we've got? 5 stacks. So I can make more at any time. I can just grab an entire stack here. We can put our greater tartaric gem in, which will continually get recharged. And then we can literally just go in here and just make more without any problems. I don't need any more because that entire wall's full. But if you wanted to... In fact, no, let's just make one more. I just want to see whether that's actually something we can put upstairs. And let's just see. There we go. Demon Will Crystal Cluster. Or at least this one, and will you... Yep, pop you in. We'll see whether that actually does anything. It may do, it may not. I may need to make some more changes. So presumably that's just a shortage of raw will, so let's give that a go by using our tartaric gem, the greater version. And that should feed in, and yep, 3,972. Is that still the same? 3899. Is that growing yet? Let's just leave it in there, actually, for a little while. I've shut off this feed from our 6 stacks of those crystals now, and we'll see whether this grows on top of our crystallizer, because it's not quite the same thing. Perhaps as one of these, we'll have to see, wait and see if it grows. The other thing is that maybe that other ritual would fit on top of this one, but it doesn't leave a lot of floor space to actually do that. And indeed, the stuff up here, it's sort of a solid block, so it can't go into the floor level. It would have to go one level above the floor again, and may not be exactly what we want to happen here. So let me just break that, and let's see whether a new one grows. And if a new one grows, maybe that will actually work. But I'll leave it alone. It is something that isn't terribly well explained in the book. If you have a look at this, whoops, I need a forward button. The rituals, next page. Where are you? Page 3, Resonance of Fasted Crystal. So yeah, it basically says an unaspected crystal cluster has been placed 2 blocks above the Master Ritual Stone. That's where it is right now. In other words, you can place a crystallizer on top of the Master Ritual Stone and a crystal cluster on top of that, and it should work well. Okay. Next, you must make sure there are no blocks directly above the 4 elemental-based ritual stones, and then wait for the crystal cluster to grow. After it's grown a total of 5 or more spires, it'll split off and other stuff like that. So, yeah, for the moment, let's see if this is... Well, it has continued to drain stuff. It's not actually growing... Oh, in fact, that is a new one on top. So, technically, it probably will now, and we'll just leave that alone. This can actually absorb more there, I would imagine, or at least it will once I re-enable this. Okay, so that should now start absorbing. Yes, it is. And everything should continue to run as normal. We have 8 stacks, so this thing is perfectly fine. I'm going to leave it alone. And the start of next episode, I think I'm going to show you if it actually has grown. And of course, in the meantime, you can put comments if you know there's anything different as far as this is concerned. There's not really terribly much more information in the book, so let's hope that this actually works as advertised. Otherwise, infinite will is abound, and we have this is feeding our tartaric gem. The only larger tartaric gem than this is the grand one, and to do that you just need the previous one and a in fact the previous type. So have I got another greater? Yes, previous type. So I'll put these both in here like that, and we just basically need to have presumably let's see, grand tartaric, is it just 4,000 now? Grand tartaric gem.
Oh, it's just crafting. Maybe? No. It needs exactly 4,000, then it drains 500. So that won't take it very long to fill to 4,000, and then you just put it in here, and then away we'll go. So next episode, we'll end up with a grand tartaric gem, and you can see there are these other kinds as well with different, well, the same one, but different types of will in it. That may be used for other recipes as we get down the road. But that's pretty much the largest part of blood magic done, pretty much. There is a few minor quests left in the quest journal. Where are you? Quest journal, quest, and description, quest lines, lock. In new, so we have the blood altar one. We've got that already, and the greater tartaric gem. We've got that one. And the last thing is just sentient armor, grand tartaric gem, and these bits and pieces, which you already know how to do. So I don't think I'm going to spend any more time on that, other than to show perhaps the start of this thing up here, if it actually does split off and start doing stuff. Otherwise, assume that I would probably use up the ceiling for one type. If we can make more type of these, in fact, let's just look at the crystal clusters. Crystal clusters, are there more than one type? Yes, there are. So once we can make like corrosive ones, I'll use that one wall for each type or something like that. And then there's room for the ceiling for the last type, leaving, or the floor, you know, etc. So we're leaving enough space so that we get a bunch, and then we can just put some more drawers up there and then be able to feed them wherever we want to. If we want to do that or rearrange this, it's not a problem. Okay, so hopefully you've enjoyed. It should be a complete tutorial on the rituals for infinite will generation. If you've got any comments, any questions, put them down in the comments below. If you've liked it otherwise, click on the thumbs up button, and we'll see you next episode for some more Project Ozone 3 Kappa mode. As always, guys, thanks for watching.